Most things we use every day are pretty cheap. A pen costs a couple dollars, shoes might cost 100. A phone costs, well, phones aren't exactly cheap anymore. But apparently, no matter how ordinary an object is, someone eventually asks, what if we made it unnecessarily expensive? And that's how you end up with shoes worth more than cars, pens worth more than mansions, and a toilet worth over $12 million. Yes, a toilet. So today, we're looking at some of the most expensive versions of everyday things ever made or sold. And we're starting relatively cheap. Sneakers, $6,250. Most people probably spend somewhere around $100 on a pair of shoes. But Louis Vuitton's LV Maxi trainers took that idea and added a few zeros. These shoes were recognized by Guinness World Records as the most expensive sneakers commercially available at retail. They're made from premium leather and covered in Swarovski crystals, because apparently the biggest problem with normal shoes was that they weren't reflective enough. But $6,000 is nothing compared to what happens when you add a famous person to the equation. A pair of Michael Jordan's Air Jordan 13s, worn during the 1998 NBA Finals, sold for $2.2 million in 2023. That's more than $1 million per shoe. And somehow, even that isn't the most ridiculous footwear sale. In 2024, a collection containing 6 individual shoes worn by Michael Jordan during his 6 championship-clinching games sold for just over $8 million. So if you ever wondered what the difference is between a $100 shoe and a $1 million shoe, apparently the answer is Michael Jordan's foot. Pen, $8 million. Next, we have a pen. This is the Tebaldi Folgore Nocturnus, and depending on how seriously you take your handwriting, it might be a little outside your back-to-school budget. The pen is decorated with hundreds of black diamonds and more than 100 rubies. One was reportedly sold at auction in Shanghai for roughly $8 million. $8 million. For a pen. For something most people accidentally steal from a bank. And the worst part about owning an $8 million pen wouldn't even be buying it. It would be lending it to somebody. Because suddenly, hey, can I borrow your pen? Becomes one of the most financially dangerous questions anyone can ask you. Cell phone, $1.3 million. Next is something almost everybody owns, a cell phone. In 2006, Swiss luxury company Goldfish created a phone called the Le Million. And the name wasn't exactly subtle. The phone sold for 1 million euros, which was roughly 1.3 million US dollars at the time, earning recognition from Guinness World Records as the world's most expensive mobile phone. But here's the best part. This was 2006. The original iPhone didn't even exist yet. So for more than $1 million, you weren't getting some futuristic supercomputer. You were getting a very expensive 2006 cell phone. Covered in precious materials, of course, which means somewhere out there is a $1 million phone that would probably lose a speed test to a modern refrigerator. Handbag.
Timeless masterpiece, created only for one woman who deserves nothing less.
The Muawad 1001 Nights diamond purse was valued at $3.8 million and recognized by Guinness World Records as the world's most valuable handbag. It's made from 18-karat gold and covered with 4,517 diamonds, totaling more than 380 carats. It reportedly took 10 artisans around 8,800 hours to make. That's more than a year of continuous work if one person somehow worked on it 24 hours a day. All to create something whose fundamental purpose is still putting your stuff inside it. At $3.8 million, I'd almost be afraid to actually use it. Imagine carrying around a purse worth more than your house, just to keep your keys, wallet, and a half-empty pack of gum inside. Phone number.
I live down the street from you, and your daughter come to my house today and she kicked my dog.
Objects don't even need to physically exist to become ridiculously expensive, because someone once paid millions of dollars for a phone number. In 2006, the number 6666666 was auctioned for charity in Qatar. The winning bid was 10 million Qatari riyals, equivalent to roughly $2.75 million at the time. Guinness World Records recognizes it as the most expensive telephone number sold at auction. Almost $3 million on something whose main advantage is being slightly easier to remember. And after spending all that money, the number can still receive spam calls. Imagine paying $2.75 million just to hear, "We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty." Next, we have chess. A normal chess set can cost $20. A nice wooden one might cost a few hundred. But once jewelers get involved, apparently all financial restraint disappears. Luxury chess sets have been created using gold, platinum, diamonds, and other precious stones, with some famous examples receiving valuations in the millions of dollars. At that point, losing a chess piece isn't annoying anymore. It's an economic event. Imagine realizing the knight rolled underneath the couch, and it's worth more than your car. But if you think that's unnecessary, we need to talk about watches. A normal watch tells you the time. A cheap digital watch can do it for less than $50. But at the extreme end of watchmaking, prices stop having much to do with simply knowing what time it is. The Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime is one of the most complicated wristwatches ever created, with numerous complications packed into a tiny mechanical case. And in 2019, a unique Grandmaster Chime made for the Only Watch charity auction sold for 31 million Swiss francs. At the time, that was roughly 31 million US dollars. 31 million dollars for a watch. To be fair, it does significantly more than tell the time. But for $31 million, I'd expect it to tell me what stocks to buy next. Toilet. This is America, created by Italian artist Maurizio Cattelan. It's made from more than 100 kilograms of 18-karat gold. And most importantly, it is a real, fully functioning toilet. In November 2025, one of these gold toilets sold at Sotheby's for $12.11 million. More than $12 million for a toilet. And unlike most ridiculous luxury objects, there's actually a pretty straightforward reason why this thing is so expensive. It's made from an enormous amount of actual gold. At the time of the auction, the gold itself was worth around $10 million, which makes the $12 million toilet bizarrely one of the easier prices in this video to explain. It's essentially a gigantic pile of gold with plumbing. And that might be the perfect example of what happens when luxury reaches its logical conclusion. Because eventually, you're not really paying for what an object does anymore. A $6,000 shoe still goes on your foot. An $8 million pen still writes. A $1 million phone still makes calls. A $31 million watch still tells the time. And a $12 million toilet still does exactly what your toilet at home does. The difference is that if yours gets clogged, you probably don't have to call your insurance company. So which ridiculously expensive everyday object would you actually buy if money didn't matter? And more importantly, how much money would you need before a $12 million toilet starts sounding reasonable?